Which co-star is your favorite? For example, who would you want to work with forever if you could only? The women I've worked with have impressed me the most, and I have to say Emma Thompson is my all-time favorite because she's so. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet's relationship, which is one of the most cherished in Hollywood, seems to have been completely shaken by a shocking lawsuit. Leo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet are better friends than lovers. They were both in Titanic 1997 and Revolutionary Road 2008. People thought that these two would never break the bond they've had since their unforgettable parts in Titanic. But new news stories say something different. Leo used to say that Kate Winslet was his best friend, so how could she be suing him? With Leonardo DiCaprio, who I love very much and think is one of the best artists in the world. He's great. And what in the world could have caused someone to do something so terrible? Come along as we talk about the shocking turns this real-life drama between two movie stars took. You've never seen anything like this before. The process of making friends. First, we need to go back to the set of Titanic to tell the story of how Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio became such great friends. Leonardo DiCaprio, who was already a rising star, and Kate Winslet, who was still getting known, were thrown together in this hard-working production that would change their lives forever. It wasn't easy to film Titanic. It took long days, scenes in cold water, and very emotional acts. On the other hand, this difficult event led to Kate and Leo becoming friends for life. Leo is the love of my life. Why on earth would you even think to ask me that? I know I made you answer. If I had to choose, I'd pick Theo over Leo. I could never spend the night at his house again. They had some things in common, which made their friendship even more special. Both of them had a good sense of humor and could make everyone laugh, even on the worst days on set. During breaks, they would joke around and cheer each other on, which helped them get through the hardest parts. The bond they formed was more than just friendship. It was a real bond, based on knowing and helping each other. By the time the movie was over, they were more than just co-stars, they were close friends who helped each other through tough times. Their connection wasn't fake, it was real, unadulterated, and impossible to break. Over the years, memories and stories they shared about the Titanic kept bringing them closer. There was the famous case of the drink being spiked, when someone put a drug into the crew's drinks, which led to chaos. Titanic was an Oscar-winning hit, but you may not remember what happened in August 1996. 80 team members, including McAvoy, ate drug-tainted lobster chowder on set at that time. The pranksters have not been caught yet. It was still a crazy memory that Kate and Leo shared behind closed doors. A strange and unforgettable moment from their Titanic days. Then there was the famous scene where Jack's sketches came to life, which they've both laughed about 1,000,000 times. It turned out that the picture wasn't drawn by Leo, but by the director, James Cameron. They remember the trust and comfort they shared over those early days thanks to a funny little detail. That's not all, though. Kate and Leo's friendship got stronger over the years, and they helped each other through every stage of their lives. They helped each other not only on screen, but also off screen, mostly with the most important things in their lives. Their friendship goes beyond work. They've been there for each other through marriages, breakups, and other important life events. For a long time, Kate and I have been great pals who help each other out. We've been best friends since we were kids. We've been in this business together for a long time and been through a lot. To give you an example, Kate had a lot of public relationships and divorces. She often found peace in her friendship with Leo, whom she has called her rock. In the same way, Leo has turned to Kate for support when things in his own life have been hard. Their love for each other has made them stronger, and each has found security in the other. When Kate got a Golden Globe for her part in Revolutionary Road in 2009, the Golden Globe goes to Kate Winslet. Looking at Leo's happy face as he cheered her on was one of the most touching things I saw. A few years later, in 2016, Leo finally won his first Oscar for The Revenant. Kate was there to cheer him on from the crowd, and it was clear that she was proud to see her friend hit a career milestone. These times when people show their support were sweet signs of their friendship and respect for each other. It was always clear that they admired each other. Even though Hollywood is tough on them and they both have busy lives, they are still friends. They stayed in touch through quiet times, secret dinners, and award shows, showing everyone what a real friendship looks like. For Kate and Leo, their friendship isn't just about sharing. It's about being there for each other through good times and bad, as true friends for life. They became famous and grew as actors over the years, but they also had to deal with many personal and business problems. When they got back together in Revolutionary Road, more than a decade later, their chemistry had only grown stronger. It showed that they had grown up emotionally in a way that fans and reviewers couldn't ignore. When Revolutionary Road came out in 2008, it was interesting to hear that you thought it was a different kind of movie because it was so mature and had such a smart script that it must have been fun to just dive into it. It's kind of like theater, and you take the script seriously from the start, right? Kate and Leo were not the young players they were in Titanic. At that point, they were both seasoned workers who were very good at what they did. Each of them had played an important but different part and had won respect as serious actors. They got back together through this movie, but not in the way they thought they would. This time they played a married pair whose marriage was falling apart. The story of the movie was very powerful. It was about how hard love is, how much you want to run away, and how painful it is to lose your dreams. The plot wasn't at all like Titanic's romantic adventure, and both stars had to really get into their roles. Their performances showed how deeply they felt. They all brought a raw, honest energy to their parts. There had always been no denying that Leo and Kate looked good together on screen, but now it had changed. They were showing more than just a love story, but embodying the sadness and turmoil that are common in real relationships. Critics noticed how strong their relationship was and said that the fact that they had a past together added to the film's realism. Their acts made people feel what their characters were going through, and this intense dynamic made Revolutionary Road something that people will never forget. Personal things made the experience more difficult behind the scenes, though. While the movie was being made, Kate was married to Sam Mendes. Kate Winslet and Sam Mendes, who both won Oscars, are no longer together. Couple's lawyer said that they were both agreeing to leave. Steve Hargrave, a reporter for Showbiz, is here, who was also in charge of making the movie. It's not often that an actor works on private scenes with her best friend while her husband directs them. The unique situation made the shooting process more emotional. Kate had to deal with her friendship with Leo and her relationship with Menendez at the same time. This relationship wasn't easy, and it put a special pressure on Kate. She later said that filming Revolutionary Road wasn't as easy as many people thought it would be. Relationships with other people had more effects. Winslet and Menendez's marriage ended in the end. The movie wasn't the only reason, but some thought that working so closely with both Menendez and DiCaprio on such an emotional story may have brought up deeper problems. Their friendship was already complicated, and Revolutionary Road may have shown some of the flaws. After the movie, Kate and Menendez went their different ways. Kate is getting relief and support from her friendship with Leo. This made her relationship with DiCaprio stronger, and he stayed a helpful person in her life. But all of a sudden, Kate did something very bad to air something that fans thought could hurt their friendship for over 10 years. What has Kate said and done, though? Now is the time you've been waiting for. The shocking revelation by Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are one of the most famous movie couples of all time. We already talked about how their chemistry first shocked everyone with Titanic. It made people wonder if what they saw on screen was real or just playing. Fans began to think that Jack and Rose, the star-crossed lovers, had a real-life relationship because of how well they played the roles. With every look, touch, and sincere word, they drew people in and made people feel things in a way that has rarely been seen before. Their love story on the Titanic was so real and honest that it changed what people thought a romance movie should be like. People didn't see that, though, because of how passionate they were on TV. It wasn't always easy to film those emotional scenes, especially for Kate. She has been very honest about how hard it was to film such private times, even with someone as close to her as Leo. Kate told him that the closeness wasn't as smooth as it seemed after filming Revolutionary Road. There were times when it was awkward, which reminded everyone that even artists who are close to each other can feel weak when a scene calls for something so personal. These times made Kate remember that even though she was close friends with Leo and trusted him, their friendship didn't get rid of the natural limits that come with shooting deep scenes. Being honest, playing in those scenes required a mix of being open and serious. That wasn't always easy. But the fact that she is honest about these problems shows that even the most magnetic chemistry is built on hard work and patience, and the courage to deal with tough problems head-on. People are even more interested in Kate's words because they are honest. She doesn't act like shooting is always a glamorous job. Instead, she tells her fans the truth. As an actor, you have to sometimes get through uncomfortable situations to give the viewer a real moment. That's what makes their relationship even more interesting. Not because it was easy, but because they worked hard, respected each other, and had a lot of trust in each other. The truth behind the scenes is that great acting often comes from hard work and deep respect. Fans may have wanted to think that the two had an easy connection. There is one thing we know for sure, though these reports are not true. Leo and Kate are very close friends that will last a long time. Fans have seen something good in a business known for being very competitive. They've become icons together and been there for each other through the good times and the bad. We only have one question while we wait to see what happens. Is there really something that can stop Kate and Leo? At this point, only time will tell. But if their past has taught us anything, it's that some ties can't be broken. And Kate and Leo may be the best proof of that. Things we didn't know about Eric Menendez. The sad story of Lyle and Eric Menendez, who were found guilty of killing their parents in 1989, was kept secret for many years. A lot of people thought the trial wasn't done right. During the second trial, the judge even threw out proof that supported the brothers' claims. The brothers were then given a sentence of life in jail without the chance of parole. The case is getting more attention after Monsters, a Netflix documentary about their story. However, the brothers have said that Monsters is not a true account of what happened. The prosecutors began to look for new proof that gives the brothers new hope. But now a lot of cousins showed up at a Los Angeles news conference at the same time, once more, with some fresh proof. Is Lila and Eric's future still possible? What does this new proof mean? Check back to find out. Let's go back to the beginning of this case to make sure we understand what's going on. We think this is one of the most interesting and shocking stories we've ever read. It all began when they were kids, which is the most confusing part. This is the story of Lyle and Eric that we didn't hear all the way through. Let's get into it. Eric and Lyle Menendez are the sons of the late Jose and Mary Louise Menendez. Eric's dad, Jose, had a lovely story about how he got rich. He was born in Cuba. He then ran away to the United States to get away from the trouble in his home country. He filled his life with wealth once he got to America and went on to become a famous entertainment executive. And Jose expected nothing less than the best from himself and his children. Eric always looked up to Lyle, his older brother. As a kid, Eric was quiet and shy. It's heavy and hard to think straight when you can't be yourself. Every day you try to make your dad proud. The worst part is that nothing you do is ever enough. That is terrible on its own. They've had to deal with that since they were kids. From the outside, these boys grew up in a home that looked great. They lived in big houses in nice neighborhoods and were surrounded by money, power, and all the nice things that money can buy. Things were very different behind closed doors, though. Jose was trying to do well, and that made it hard for him to be a good dad. He put a lot of pressure on his kids and expected them to do well in school and sports. Lyle and Eric were stressed out because they had to try to meet his father's impossible standards. He put too much pressure on them. Eric's old swim teacher remembered how Jose's constant pressure to do better made Eric tired and unsure of himself. The teacher told the Los Angeles Times that Jose was so competitive that he did everything he could to help Eric get better. He was so annoying, though, that it had the reverse effect. Eric didn't believe in himself as much because nothing he did was good enough. Even though he was under a lot of stress, Eric found his own skills, which must have been very hard for him. He learned to play tennis well and is now ranked number 44 in the US among players under 18 and number 7 in Southern California. His father had high hopes for him, but his success on the game made him feel better. But it didn't last long. Jose pushed him to do even more and go faster and farther. Eric did his best, but the stress of living in such a high-stress setting finally got to him. Eric wasn't the only one going through this. Lyle, his bigger brother, had problems with their dad too. However, Lyle spoke out more. He seems to be able to handle things better than Eric. But it cost something. But these brothers had to deal with more than just stress. They had to deal with abuse from the same man who pushed them too far, which is one of the worst things that can happen to a child. This is so painful on its own. It's so painful to grow up in a place where you know you're not safe, not even for a day. Eric says the abuse started when he was 6 years old and went on until he was 18. Lyle says the abuse happened over a few years when he was a young kid. Each brother told one of their cousins something. The family was still living in Princeton, New Jersey at the time. Lyle, who was only 8 years old at the time, told their cousin Diane something some summer. He told her about how hard things were for him at home. Lyle was so young that it was hard for him to fully understand or explain what was going on, but he had enough faith in his cousin to tell him about his pain. Diane, who was 17 at the time, tried to help. She went to see their mom, Kitty, and told her what Lyle said. Kitty, on the other hand, was too busy with her own plans to believe anything. From what I've heard, Kitty was a difficult woman. She liked the attention and status that came with her husband's success and was a celebrity. But she also had problems with her own inner fears, like being an alcoholic and being very depressed. Because of her own problems, Kitty was emotionally distant and couldn't give her kids the help they needed. Because they had been through similar things together, Eric and Lyle leaned on each other over the years. He wasn't just their brother. They were the only ones who really understood each other in a world where their parents didn't seem to care about their feelings. The boys began to act out when their family moved to Southern California. Eric, who used to be quiet and shy, started getting into trouble, just like Lyle did. The year before, Lyle started at Princeton University in New Jersey, but things weren't going well for him. After that, he was kicked out of school for plagiarizing. He turned into someone he didn't want to be or think he could be because of this situation and the stress at home. When he got back to California, he met up with his brother again. The two of them became more and more rebellious. They began hanging out with the wrong people, doing dangerous things and making bad choices, especially Eric. He was hurt more. In disobedience, Eric broke in twice and was caught, which could have been a cry for help. He didn't go to jail, but instead had to go to therapy, where he started to talk about some of the problems he was having at home, but not all of them. Writing gave Eric a way to express himself. He wrote a movie script that turned out to be sad in real life. The script was about a kid who kills his rich parents. It was clear that this kid needed help. He wrote that story to show how he felt and how he wanted to live, not just survive. And the only way out was to kill the people who had hurt him. Someone should have paid him a little more attention when he was that age. Things might not have gone so badly. Eric and Lyle couldn't get rid of the memories of their youth. He wrote a letter to his cousin Andy Cano when he was 18 years old. In this letter, he talked about how he was trying to stay away from his dad and how the mental pain was getting too much to handle. He talked about having anxiety-filled nights because he didn't know what the next day would bring. But nothing was done. The boys couldn't do anything, and this family doesn't let anyone know how they raise their kids. The boys probably couldn't tell their aunts or someone much older. It's possible that they weren't even close. As luck would have it, Jose and Kitty Menendez were brutally killed on August 20th, 1989. This case got a lot of attention. As soon as the case was looked into, it became clear that this was not a normal crime. The couple was found shot and killed in their Beverly Hills home. Jose had been shot 6 times and Kitty had been shot 10 times. Because the attack was so violent, the cops at first thought it might have been a mob hit. Because it was in a nice area, their house got a lot of attention from the media. And the people who lived nearby were shocked that such a horrible crime could happen in such a safe place. Lyle Menendez called the cops that night to report the killings. "What's the matter? I killed my mom and dad." "Excuse me?" "I killed my mom and dad." "What? Who? Are they still there?" "Yes, they told the cops that when they got home, they found the bodies of their parents lying on the floor without any signs of life." They were really scared. In the early hours, the cops didn't pay too much attention to Lyle and Eric. Because Jose was a well-known entertainment executive, they thought the killings had something to do with his business deals. In a tough and competitive field, and the agents thought it was possible that people who worked with him were involved. Even a previous business partner, a porn executive who had had problems with Jose, was thought to be a suspect. Even though they first thought it was business rivals, Lyle and Eric were soon suspected because of how strange they were acting after the killings. In the months after their parents died, the boys seemed to be spending a lot of money and not caring about anything. They went on shopping sprees that caught the attention of police, where they bought expensive things like Rolex watches and fashionable clothes. Eric, a very good tennis player, got a private coach and even paid for his own travel to play against players from other countries. When Eric spent $40,000 to pay for a rock show in Los Angeles, that's when the police turned their attention to them. It is said that the brothers spent a total of $700,000 in the 6 months after their parents died. However, if we only want to look at their rapid spending and not their track, this is probably something that people do. When someone gets access to something they've been forbidden all their lives, along with trauma from the past, they start acting badly right away if they aren't very careful. Just that getting to it, you will not be able to think straight, and you will do things that are not balanced. While the brothers were enjoying their new way of life, Eric's guilt began to bother him. Eric had a hard time. He wasn't a bad guy. He just wanted to live a life separate from his parents, but they did something they never thought they could. They made that gun go off. Eric could no longer keep the secret just a few months after the killings. Eric told the truth. The therapist who worked with Eric was in a tough spot. When Lyle learned about Eric's statement, things changed, even though he couldn't say what Eric had told the police directly. He was mad and scared that Dr. Oziel would tell on them. That was a lot to keep. Lyle allegedly told the therapist that he would kill him if he told anyone about their secret. Even though he was threatened, Oziel told his girlfriend and called the cops. The Menendez brothers were looked into because of this tip. It was now only Lyle and Eric that the cops were looking at. The police moved after getting enough proof, which included comments from Dr. Oziel and other people. The brothers were caught in March 1990. Everyone was shocked by these captures. At first, a lot of people trusted the brothers' story that they were innocent. They had their backs turned to everyone else. Everyone was interested in what happened, except for the fact that the boys killed their parents to get the money they left them. The Menendez brothers were officially charged with first-degree murder in December 1992, after being looked into for almost 3 years. Prosecutors painted a picture of greed and careful planning during the trial. They claimed that Lyle and Eric had killed their parents to get the family money. The defense, on the other hand, told a much more complex and sad story. When they went to court, the Menendez brothers said that their father had abused them for years. Lyle and Eric said it wasn't just words or actions, but something worse. Something that kids shouldn't go through. That's what they go through for years. Kitty, their mother, wasn't involved directly but was having a rough time mentally and wouldn't protect her kids. Lyle said that she was a heavy drinker who didn't care about the family's problems and chose to ignore the boys' pain. Andy Cano, their cousin, was one of the main witnesses who backed up their claims of abuse. Andy thought back to how Eric had told him about Josie's bad behavior by talking about how scared and hurt Eric had been as a kid. The boys thought their parents were going to kill them, silence them, and hide the fact that they had been abused for years, the defense said. People who knew what happened said that the family had a serious fight the night of the killings. Out of fear and desperation, the brothers killed their parents to save their own lives. The second trial began the next year after the first one. In contrast to the first trial, the judge limited the amount of proof and testimony that could be used to support the brothers' claims of abuse. No cameras were allowed in the courtroom, so the media could only cover certain parts of the case. After that, everything was over. Like Lyle, Eric Menendez was given a life sentence in jail without the chance of parole in March 1996. That was it. It was hard to tell if Lyle and Eric really did what they did out of self-defense or greed. You know how some law cases can be. But Lila and Eric didn't deserve to go through all that while they were growing it. That's not fair for kids. After all these years, their family members have finally started to talk about the case. It's not just family members who are coming to talk, things are going in a whole new direction. There is a lot you should know about this story. Stay tuned as we look into it and find more shocking proof. As new information comes to light, the Menendez brothers case has taken a new turn. New information is being looked at by prosecutors in Los Angeles right now. This could lead to a new trial or even the brothers' release. In a surprising show of support, some of the Menendez brothers' extended family members showed up to a news conference in Los Angeles in favor of a possible new trial. People from both parts of the family seemed to be on the same page, putting together a new group called Justice for Eric and Lyle. The group, led by Ana Maria Baralt, Jose Menendez's niece, was created to push for the brothers' freedom or retrial. Baralt made it clear at the press conference that the boys' family now agrees that they were not given a fair chance to tell their side of the story. She said it was about truth, justice, and getting better. They should be given a chance to get better. They deserve a chance to heal with our family, she said. A lot of family members agreed with Baralt. Kitty Menendez's sister, Joan Anderson Vander Molen, was one of them. They were shocked at how badly the boys were treated. Speaking to reporters, she said, I had no idea how badly my brother-in-law abused them. None of us did. They now think that the abuse claims were thrown out too quickly in the first cases, and that the new information calls for a serious rethinking. There was news that a docuseries called Menendez plus Menudo, Boys Betrayed, would be about Peacock. There are new claims in this documentary series that Jose Menendez did wrong things with more than just his children. He also did inappropriate things with members of the boy band Menudo. Roy Rossello said that Jose, who worked for Menudo as a music executive, had been mean to a youngster. Eric had said, to be honest, I feel terrible. It broke his heart to hear about another victim. He said he hoped the truth would come out one day, but not now. Again, their aunt just recently found the letter Eric sent to their cousin Andy Cano 8 months before the killings, complaining about how bad his dad was still being. The seriousness of these findings has caused people to talk about how the criminal justice system handles abuse claims, especially those from men. There is a lot of support for the Menendez brothers, even from Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian wrote for NBC News, "They are not monsters, they are honest, kind, and smart guys." Many more people are now interested in the Lila and Eric case because of Kardashian's piece. It was hard for male victims of sexual abuse to get help at the time this case happened, and not much was known about how this kind of trauma can affect a person's mind in the long run. All of this is making a lot of people, especially family members, think again about the case. When you look at everything, starting with their childhood, these boys deserve to get over all the bad things that have happened to them and hopefully be set free. But well, that's up to the court. The Menendez brothers have been in jail for over 30 years. As of now, we don't know what will happen because the court hearing is in November and new proof has been found. Tell me what you think about the case of Menendez's brothers. Type it in the space below for comments. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you can see more. Also, click on the next video that comes up. It's good for you.